Welcome to Behind the Scenes, Project Management at Siemens. In this podcast series, you are not going to hear project management methodologies, processes, or guidelines, or not even projects in particular. You are going to hear stories, personal experiences, and journeys of people behind the scenes, project managers and commercial project managers within Siemens from all around the world. I'm Darya Iren. Welcome to Behind the Scenes, Project Management at Siemens. In this episode, our guest is Gernot Taucher. Hi Gernot, welcome to our podcast. How are you today?
Thank you, Aaron. I'm doing really good because it's summertime and it's less work at the moment, but preparing for the next steps.
Can we start with a little bit getting to know you better? Can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, sure. So Gernot is my name and I'm working for Siemens Advanta. That's kind of the IT division within the Siemens family. So our main goal is to help our customers to get over the digital transformation challenge. And I'm working in different fields of Siemens. So it's not only with buildings or with the energy part or with the factory part. So we're doing it generally for more than just one division. Our aim is really to bridge the gap between the OT world, so it's the classical field devices and factory devices we see, with the IT world. So this is all about digital twin. This is about connecting edge devices at the very end of the factories to the IT systems, and really do then also the kind of what is nowadays in every year is about the AI part. A huge part of Advanta is to really work on that stuff. So pattern learning, doing predictive maintenance, predictive challenges also of combining various sources, so pictures, sounds, then IT signals and things like that to combine it to one answer of the digitalization.
Wow, that's cool. So before going to detail about what you do now, I'd like to go a little bit backwards and like to hear how your journey started in Siemens.
My career at Siemens started like 25 years ago.
Wow.
So in graduate of the secondary school here in Austria, you have two choices: to have a very open one to attend university degree, or it's about kind of already an education on the job. So I did the second one, and I had already kind of an education on IT work, IT development, how systems work and things like that. In Austria, men have to do a military duty for 8 months to 12 months, and I decided to do that before attending a university. And during that time, Siemens approached me to work for them as a developer. And I thought, okay, let's take the chance, because they asked me to go to Malaysia for some time. And as a young person at the age of 19, I thought, well, that's a good challenge and I can do my university afterwards. And as usual, you stay there, you get money, you know, it's exciting times. So I joined Siemens full-time and did my study beside that. And again, I started as an SAP developer and I never wanted to work in the business IT area. So my actual university degree is about technical informatics. That's kind of embedded systems, near real-time working systems, things like that. So a complete different area what I joined at Siemens. But over the years, it seems I did pretty well as a developer. So, and I was kind of more extroverted. So they asked me to be more on the business consulting side than on the development side in the background. And over the business consulting side, always talking to the customer, some head of mine decided, well, you're doing really good in managing people. So why not taking over a smaller part of the project with your own team? So that was the first step into the project management. And since I did well there, they asked me to take over the full customer responsibility. That was already at the age of 24. And I said, well, why not? Let's give it a try. I know that customer, so that the environment was known to me. That was an easy entry point. And back then, my head really coached me and really told me, hey, listen, this is new to you, but you need to do this and that. So that was my part into that.
Maybe I would also like to ask you, how did your previous experience in IT help you in your field? So in project management, do you think that it's related to have the domain know-how, or is it more with people? So how do you see that?
I think project management is all about people. It's about the team you're managing, because as an entrepreneur of the project, you are also managing a team, kind of a matrix or whatever, and you're managing the customer, and the customer need is something you need to understand, because this is what their people on the other side are working against. So I think it's all about people. But when asking about did my experience being developer and consultant help me, definitely. But there are always two sides of the medal. I think it helped a lot to discuss with my team, knowing what their challenges are. So when someone came to me and said, it's not easy to do this and that, I knew exactly what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And being a business consultant for some time just helped me to argue with people. And that also helped towards the customer side, saying, hey, come on, I know you want to do this and that, but that doesn't really get to a goal at the end. So I think those two experiences helped me to step into my project management career. But I can also tell friends of mine who came more from the business administration side with no technical background, they have a different approach going into project management. So I think being a project manager is not about having a background exactly in that domain like IT. It's more about managing people and understanding people needs.
Yeah. Do you sometimes wear your old hat and jump in as the technical person, or can you stay in the back and let the team work?
Well, actually, the older I get, the more I can step back. And that is easy because time in IT is changing so fast. I'm not at the pulse of the time anymore. So whatever people tell me, it's like, there is something new. Okay. Still, I like to learn that from the team. So when we do have our meetings in the project, I really like to understand what is now the new idea of having this integration part and things like that. And since you asked me of, do I step back sometimes? There was a project not that long ago where we had to connect to an SAP system. And since I started as an SAP developer and SAP consultant, I really could help the team in explaining them how SAP is thinking and how SAP is working. And I think that helped the technical team in order to do their process on our end in a way that we could easily connect to the customer system. So sometimes it helps to have a technical background.
Okay. What does it take to be a good project manager?
As I said in the beginning, I think it's all about people. It's about the team, because a project manager cannot win without a team. So I think it's really crucial to bring together a team that can work together. That sounds now in a way like it's clear if you have a team, they need to work together. Yes, they need to work together, but sometimes, especially on cultural bridges, I see the way people in other countries are working is different to what we are known here, especially in the Austrian-German region. And so I think it's important to have also common sessions to understand how people are thinking. If it's possible, I always try to bring the whole team together to get known of each other, to have a beer together, because also the social component within a project, especially if it's a very time critical or a very huge project over years, then I think it's good that people know each other and can rely and trust each other. That's very important to me. And again, on the people management side, the customer, they are people as well. So it's not that the customer is something you just need to work on. And to my experience, a project, at least in the IT area, never ended exactly that way as we had planned it in the beginning. So change management and people management are for me key in working with customers. And I think it's very important to understand what is the pain point of your counterpart, so the PM. And if you understand that, and if you get in a close relationship with the customer PM, then I think you both, as a team, customer and we as Siemens, can work on that project. I mean, people management is a huge area, I would say. So it's really about understanding also how people think and how people act, and also to be open to people who, let's say, act differently than you would expect. So for me, the number one criteria being a project manager is still people management and relationship management. And that is also about communication to the C-level, because it's not only the PM you need to talk to. Normally, the C-levels of the customer, they in critical projects, they have an eye on those projects, and they need to be involved from the very beginning, because otherwise, even your counterpart project manager might run into a dead end, and that is not helpful for a project at all.
What I've seen in the digital transformation projects, normally expect to talk to the PMs or the technical people on the customer side. But what I've seen is that attention from the top management is really high. And so the strategy is in, the CEO is in, so IT managers are in. So there are a lot of people who don't have a technical background as well are there in the discussions. So how hard is it to communicate with the C-level and with the people who doesn't have the background or doesn't speak the same language with you?
This, especially in the beginning of my project management career, this was a real challenge, because I'm coming from the technical side. So in the beginning, I always love to go into details. That is not helpful if you communicate to a C-level. Not at all, because you lose them. You completely lose them, and they even think of you about a nerd not knowing of what is the real business challenge. So I think you need to break down technical details into business language. And that is something that either you need to learn, coming from the technical side, or you need to understand the technical impact coming from the business side, bringing those sides together. So from whatever side you come, I think you need to enter a new field of knowledge that you need to combine with your existing knowledge in order to be the single point of contact for both the technical people and the business people.
I also see that it is important to show the impact. What would be the benefit for the customer? So, of course, we talk about products, we talk about software, we talk about what we are going to produce, develop, and so on. But at the end, it is what makes it more meaningful is what would be the impact to the customer.
Everyone needs a success. I think a project needs to be successful, but what successful means is kind of a definition. So it's very important to shape that idea of a successful project even during the project. As we heard about, a project never ends as it starts. So the definition of success also needs to be transformed over the project. And that is important, because you need to sell your success. So the customer project manager needs to sell his success of doing a great project within his organization. And it's the same with the line managers or the CIO or the CFO, wherever. He needs to understand this project is successful or is a success for the company. That, I think, is just to say, how does success change within a project or even increases? And I think this is now the marketing part in a project that is also important to really just tell, okay, why did we change things and why is this to the greater benefit of the company? If you just do a project again in your basement and no one is knowing about this, then it's not a success at all. Even if you do the best, IT development that never has a problem, no one would care about. So I think nowadays, especially in our CXO world, you need to have also project marketing. I see that come more and more into play, especially digitalization. It's like you invest a huge amount of money for things you might already know. At least this is when we enter a project, it's like, well, we are just doing a digital twin. So that means we take information that we already have into some IT system. So what's the benefit out of this? So the benefit normally doesn't come with the first step of just bridging OT and IT. It comes with what you can do then afterwards with the information you have. And this is all about, we call that use cases. So if you just do a platform and create something, there is no benefit. you need to see what use cases you can run then on this integration to see the benefit for the future of your company. So that's also why we typically do not just say, hey, here you got a platform, it's on AWS or Azure or whatever. It's more about what can you do with what we are bringing into your company. Because the IT part might be expensive, but it's useless without having an idea how to support the business of a customer.
Yeah, I think that's the critical part. And digital transformation is a journey. So it's, as you said, there's the starting point, but then you build upon every time with the use cases, and the impact multiplies in the end. So
exactly, and what we see is in the digital transformation area, companies now start to have some kind of proof of concepts where they start in factories with I don't know, a few lines to see how that works, how the improvement is going there, and then scale up and roll out to even other factories. So this is the typical start we see. And what we do first is really to discuss on, okay, there will be an IT platform, no doubt, but what is the benefit to the plant, to the sites, to the headquarters, to see the KPIs, how can they control or steer things better, how does it help to improve, I don't know, the work at the site, because at the end you need to sell it to the factory head, who needs to see what is the benefit just for me producing things. You need to see it to the headquarters, saying now I can actually see my KPIs and I can see, do I have a problem in one of the factories compared to others, which is also kind of critical because that now brings together factories and saying they are now in a challenge to each other. And so it's quite hard to really be very, very sensitive because this is about data and it's about people in the companies. So I think the years in business consulting helped a lot because this was about understanding the customer challenges, also to understand how transformation within a company works. It's not like, hey, we know the best process, how that would work. That is great. But how do you introduce that into an existing company with existing processes, people who are familiar with what they do already, and then you introduce a new process? This is not an easy task, and that's why it's important to have also the line managers of a company within the project knowing what's going on, to also shape that kinds of process change. It's not about IT process, it's also about business processes. And within Advanta, we have also a huge consulting division, and we typically in challenging projects where we see this is also impacting the business and the human resources processes of a company, we try, if not the customer is asking for this, to also include the colleagues to really help on that side of the transformation. Because in our experience, even if you have the best IT system and the people are not adapting to it, not a success.
Yeah. Definitely. What are the biggest challenges?
Again, I see that the main challenge in order to have the right people and connect the people within your team to the customer, to address C-level, and to have the stakeholder management done. Also to have a prepared change management. I think this is kind of the base challenge you have.
Okay, now what is the fun part?
What I really like, and I've now 25 years with Siemens, let's say almost 25, but is to really get known to so many people within the organization, but also on the customer side. I've had so many customers and people on customer side, but this is really, you're getting in touch with so many peoples and cultures. So being in Malaysia, in India, Middle East, US.
Do you have a moment in your career where you will always remember?
There are many of them, but I think it's mainly those projects that really drove you to the edge. That's one part. And it's the people you met, not just in the own organization, like experienced engineers or line managers or experienced project managers that coached you for a while. I think you remember on different things. So it's people, it's your feelings on project. And I just remember most recently we had a very time-critical project in a region. It was really like there was no way to move the endpoint of that project, and the requirements were not fully clear. So to have a short time with no way to extend the project, not having clear requirements, typically brings you in a very agile project situation.
You talked about agile, and I want to hear from your end, how important role does this play in your projects? Because we hear agile methodologies a lot of times, and it is a discussion always in the project management. How can you embed? Is it a mindset? Is it the tool set? Or is it the contract? So what is it for you?
I think to being agile is kind of more on a methodology for the whole project manner. So it's not about just the tools and things that you need to implement. This is a way of living a project. And what we see is that customers demand to have a project in Agile. Agile is a buzzword. Everyone wants to have a project in Agile. But to have a project in Agile means to really set it up as an Agile project. It's not about having a fixed contract. It's more about having people and roles available and maybe a time frame and a budget, and then working against it jointly. And that is the important part, jointly with the customer. So the responsibility of creating the product or the solution is with the customer. So I don't want to go into details on the roles, but that means you have a joint project team between customer and contractor like Siemens. So typically what we try then to discuss with customer is a hybrid approach, saying that we're doing kind of a waterfall project towards the customer, because this is typically what CFOs and CEOs are used about, but doing then within the project an agile manner. That means that we do a requirement engineering, we do have a huge backlog of requirements, let's call it like that, and then working against them. And during the project execution, we can still change those requirements. This is how we can interpret agile within projects.
Coming back out of the technical part, so what is most inspiring for you in this career? Maybe you talk about your coaches that kind of guided you. This could be your role model, or this could be anything. So what is inspiring you?
Well, bringing people to the next level. So when I started my career as PM, it was like just people are there to fulfill a role and then just to produce some output. This was the first time when I worked with project teams. But over time, a PM role is similar to a line manager role. You are an entrepreneur and your team is then with you for a while. And you see people that you know they can do more, they can do better, or you can see that people are very smart but don't really step up and open speech to their team, and you can also coach them kind of to step into that next level.
So, last question. What would you advise to your young self if you go back?
Well, to my young self, I would say, don't be afraid of being open to a customer. Just, of course, and this is a learning, so try first to bring everything together to tell a customer what your challenge is currently. So I think that's important. But honestly, just the main advice I would give to myself is try things you used to do anyway. So, because there is nothing that you know from the very beginning. Being a PM is like being an expert. Being most of other job roles, you need to have a continuous learning, and things are changing over time. You change yourself by, I don't know, understanding social things differently by aging over time. There is an impact from outside that, like now we have remote sessions with customers, which we didn't have in the past. We do have more OT integration things. There are so many things that are changing over time. So I think being open to speak up within your line management and saying, hey, I do see this differently, or we do have a challenge here, is very important.
Thank you so much. This was really interesting. Thank you for joining us today, Gernot. It was a big pleasure for me.
Thank you very much, Aaron. It was a pleasure for me being with you here.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for listening. I'm Derya Iren. This podcast is a production of Siemens. If you would like to explore our world, please visit siemens.com.